when people feel good, when people feel clear, when people feel confident, feel happy, a couple of things are normally behind that. There's some similarities between happy people. And funny enough, successful businesses also actually do this, and it's the only time I mention business today, but when you know who you are and you know what your purpose is, life is a real cruisy ride. It's really enjoyable when you're clear about who you are and why you're here. It's really, really, really empowering. When you don't know who you are, you don't know what you stand for, you don't know what you believe in, and you don't know what your purpose is, except I'm here doing something, I'm doing a lot of doing as opposed to a lot of being, then life tends to get a bit confusing. And we tend to get stuck in a rut. Does that make sense at all? Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah. So, in my personal journey, I chose to work through I'll say my addictions, but my addictions weren't just the fact that I loved the chemical alcohol. It was the fact that I was masking a lot of emotional challenges that had been started since I was started since I was 2. And taking ownership of that was a real scary experience, because for most of my life, all I actually saw myself was a person that enjoyed helping other people, a person that enjoyed making a bit of noise. I was in a band when I was young, and I loved it when I was a musician. I loved doing a bit of that. And I sort of knew what my identity was, but I saw my identity as also someone who loved to drink. And boy, I loved to drink. Loved it. Even though it made me feel bad. And so, who I saw myself as was not really what my heart was saying. So my head and my heart were saying two different things. And what I thought my purpose was in life was something different. My head was in another space. My head was sort of lost in money and materialism, and my heart was going, no, your purpose is just to feel good. Your purpose is to feel good and to help other people feel good. What's wrong with that? And I battled with that for a good number of years. I wasn't very clear at all. It was very, very unclear. And so the moment that I started my healing journey was actually taking ownership of that and saying, you know what? Why don't you just start to connect with what your heart's telling you rather than what your head is and what society's telling you? Why don't you just be honest with that? Why don't you stop telling lies to yourself? That for me was my dark night of the soul, if I will. Who am I? What's my purpose? Let's do a little exercise on this. My journey is my journey, and certainly it was challenging for me, and yours may most likely be different. But what I want you to do is and we'll do this through a little simple meditation sequence. We're going to breathe into our hearts again, and we're going to ask ourselves the question, who am I, and what's my purpose? And we're going to do that for a couple of minutes. And then what I invite you to do is we're going to come up, and we're going to come to this beautiful array of toys. And I want you to identify some symbols that would talk to who you are. So we identify one or two symbols that will identify who you are and what you feel as though your purpose is. And it may be right now that you're a mum and your purpose is absolutely to raise some beautiful children. It may be that you are doing a particular kind of job, and that is exactly where your purpose is at. Or maybe your purpose right now is to actually find your purpose. And that's fine. That's a great place to start. That is actually the best place to start. That is absolutely the best place to start. It's certainly the place that I started. So you'll find that there is a bit of everything on the table here. And this is where we start to allow the inner child to come out. This is where we start to allow some of our creativity to come out. Because when you approach the table, once you've reflected on this, when we approach the table, we just want something to jump off the table. I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to feel it. This looks really interesting. Because I remember a time when I had an identity of who I was, but I was bloody handcuffed. There was handcuffs on there, then there's a bottle of Steinlager on the other side, and woo! We were in business. And then I used to wake up in the morning, and I was a bit like, So there's plenty ways to tell a story, and I encourage you to just allow those toys to jump out. This can be as light-hearted as you like. In fact, the more light-hearted, the better it is.